Greetings everybody, and welcome back to Warfare Reviews of me Spitfire. Today we're going to look at and review the T-80, the Tier 7 main battle tank in Shiskin's Eastern European MBT line. The T-80 comes directly after the T-72 and improves on it in several characteristics, the first of which is the reload. My T-80's reload being down to about 6.9 seconds. The top speed being 71.22 km per hour, meaning it is actually relatively fast for an MBT. And while its engine is 7.3 seconds, it is actually quite fast. Of course, while not being as fast as the Leopard 2 or the Type 92, the T-80 does have a good measure of mobility. The T-80 also possesses a pretty fantastic gun, having the highest penetration and damage of all the Tier 7 MBTs, and in reality, and still having better penetration than the Centura 120, while the Centura 120 maxes out on AP damage. In short, the T-80 is more of the mobile armoured turret destroyer. Its armour, while the upper glacis of the turret is somewhat thick, the lower glacis is extremely weak, and even Tier 5 MBTs can pen it, meaning that you should try to always be a second line. While you can brawl with the T-80, kind of like the Type 90, the T-80 is kind of more of a second line MBT, mainly for fire support. Having a very quick reload at 6.90 seconds, which is slightly slower than the Challenger 1 Wolf, faster than the Leopard 2, slightly slower than the Type 90, means that you can consistently push out damage. The tank comes with one universal, one firepower and one mobility slot. I have set my tank up for augmented breech lock, which gives me reload time and better accuracy, and gyroscopic stabilizers to keep the aim time down, while in comparison to the Leopard 2 only has 2 retrofit slots, the Type 90 having 4, and the Challenger 1 having 4 as well, but the T-80 has, along with the Type 90 and then the M1 Abrams, is a very firepower oriented tank. Just have a quick look at that armour. So the turret is 510mm thick versus AP. I suppose that means it can be frontally damaged by Tier 8 MBTs if they get lucky, and probably very weak versus Tier 9 ones, while the hull is 372mm thick. However, considering it's at an angle, means that probably not a good idea to go for the glacis. Some other notes is that it has 3 choices of guns. The first one obviously being the worst one, the second one being the last one in which you can take high explosive rounds on, and the third allows you to fire the best missiles, which can penetrate the lower glacis of the M1 Abrams, which is always a good thing to note there. Has very good AP rounds and heat rounds. You can often hit 1000 damage with them if you get a critical hit, but unfortunately means it carries no high explosive rounds, which is quite a bit of a problem there, especially if you're facing against Challenger 1s. However, like I said, you should not be using this tank for brawling. I just want to go over the side armour. The side armour of the tank is extremely weak. 84mm thick means that any form of side scraping must be done cautiously, or people are going to go straight through it. Alright. That's the rough look at the tank gun. Now I need to view a replay on it. This is quite a fun game for me. Mostly Tier 7, some Tier 8s. My team of course having more spotting vehicles and a Challenger, while the other team having a more solid Tier 6 line, being as the O2 AVs. I should speed up quickly. I played with Hedy, who is in his Challenger, and Hedy is going to go into the refinery to distract the enemies, while I am going to go up north, because I really absolutely despise brawling in the T-80. I haven't actually played the T-80 that much, to be honest. I mean, it's a great PvE tank, while in PvP it does need to be cautious. So of course here, I initially took a forward position, well, a forward firing position to be able to shoot at enemies. This is quite good in retrospect, because I managed to get some shots off at the start. Tried to shoot at the 2AV, well, I tried to aim at it, but the guy went straight into cover. Now the Leopard 2AV on the other team is going to initially make a pretty big mistake by moving. See, first hit in, 542 damage. That's a pretty standard roll for this tank. Get another hit in as well. Another 589. And of course, I then finished the Leopard 2 off. This tank is absolutely terrifying when it comes to alpha damage. Alpha damage being, of course, the damage puts out. The heat rounds are also very good as well, but when facing up in higher tier matches like this, most of the time you are facing vehicles which have very good heat protection, so usually armoured piercing. However, of course, when facing tier 7 vehicles like the Santiago 120, the BMP3 and the LAV 600, heat rounds are pretty effective. And I thought I was going to be able to shoot this Leopard 2AV, but I don't know if I actually got a hit on me at this point. No, I didn't. So going to the other position, well, to the position I originally wanted to go, which is straight up north. This is where I usually go in my tier 7 MPTs because people don't expect you to. And when mostly it's just lighter vehicles going up there, you can often have that the fear factor of course having an MPT they can't penetrate, and being a pretty big boost to your allies. I take a penetrating hit from the LAV 600. What was I saying? Oh yeah, the MBTs are a very good force multiplier. I try and see if I can penetrate the Centaur 120 here, see if I can get a shot on him, but unfortunately I'm not able to. I kind of dick around here for a couple of minutes. Doesn't really work out. Of course I'm like, ooh, where am I going? Can I go forward? Can I go backwards? I got a little love heart on my tank as well. And then I see that Leopard 2AV is starting to move up, so I'm like, ooh, I gotta go. It's a 50-50 chance to penetrate its turret directly, but the most place I want to go for is the lower hull. Now, one thing I forgot to mention is that the T-80 has a fantastic turret and hull traverse, and of course that T-8 that VBL for you is going to move up on me, move up and get some spotting in. He was proven very, very, very wrong. Now, we'll see more of that VBL later, but for the most part we've got this Leopard 2AV to deal with. The 2AV, of course, being completely outmatched in this circumstance. The only place he can penetrate me is on the lower hull, and of course if he needs to go, and of course he needs to get me, that means he's going to have to expose his turret, well, his side hull, which he does, and suddenly he's not feeling so bright anymore. Oh, and then that VBL tries to go up. Do you remember what I said about that turret traverse? Just proved it. 2AV bounces on me. I believe he was probably going for my side armour, but in a rare case of actually side scraping, I managed to make a donkish shot. Of course here I'm just figuring out, ooh, can I go? Heady's been taken out, but the initial plan we eventually agreed on was that he was a very good distraction in that refinery. The Challenger 2 is very good. Oh, it's a pretty fun distraction tank. And of course I try and shoot the turret. Like I said, 50-50 chance of going through it. Didn't make it this time. Moving up on him, and this is when I decide, fuck it, so I'm like, okay, I'm going to kill it. Straight through the lower hole. I'm just like, come on 2AV, come on, you can do it. I completely donked the shot that time, but then I'm just like, oh, screw it. Of course he penetrates me again, but this time I'm like, fuck you. Straight through the highest side. I want to see if anything else happened here. The LAV 600 donks a shot, I think, on the upper glacis. Tried to shoot at him, but doesn't work out in the end. Anyway, that's it for the T-80 review. The T-80 being a very decent, well, a very good fire support tank. Has some kind of armour, but you shouldn't rely on it. Good turret traverse, meaning that it can react very well. I would recommend buying it for PvE and PvP. Anyway guys, I hope to see you next time.